Hello students, a very good morning. In this video, we are going to attempt few Parajumble based questions. So today's session is based on Parajumble, or also known as sentence rearrangement questions, right? So in total, we are going to do 5 questions. That is 5 paragraphs actually, right? So we'll be discussing each statement, the proper order, and the reason for the proper order of each statement. Okay, let's see the first paragraph here. So now you need to tell me, okay, take your time first of all. You can pause the video and see that which can be our first sentence, right? So after you have spent like 3 to 4 minutes or whatever time you require, you can resume the video and see it, right? Okay, so look at here. Look here. The first sentence uses a word furthermore, right? So we don't even need to study the whole sentence because we just get to know that we have this word called furthermore that expands a context, right? Furthermore means that there was already a description about something, and now this sentence carries on the description about the same thing further, right? So it cannot be our first sentence. Look at sentence B. It uses a demonstrative pronoun called these. Now, when do you use pronoun? When you have already used a noun, right? That means when you have already talked about a person or an object or anything, right? After that, when you talk about it again, or when you refer to it again, you use this pronoun. But it cannot be a first sentence, right? Since we need to introduce our subject. Then look at the sentence C. For instance, it uses for instance, that means for example, right? So it's asking us to, have a look, right? For instance, for example. But we don't know that why are we provided with an example here, okay? There needs to be a context before, hence it cannot be a first sentence. Look at sentence D. Instead, it uses the word instead. That means it's providing us an alternative, right? But what is the first factor or what is the first alternative that's already present? Okay, so it should be in first sentence. So this D cannot be our first sentence. Then look at E. It uses a conjunction but, right? Now, a conjunction but is a contradiction, right? It represents or it expresses a contradiction, right? So we need to find the first clause which this conjunction joins to this present clause, right? So it cannot be our first sentence again. Then F uses again this visibility. Now I don't know which visibility I'm talking about. It uses again this demonstrative pronoun, this visibility, right? So I really don't know, right? Then G, some companies. Now we're just left with one sentence. Hence, this is going to be our first sentence. Also, how do we understand that this is our first sentence here? Look at here, some companies. The subject of our paragraph is about some companies, right? And begins with some companies. Now, any companies, we don't know that, right? But it uses a indefinite pronoun, some here. So that is what we require. Some companies have written off China and India as unrealistic expansion opportunities, right? That means some companies have discarded China and India, okay, as a what we can say as a market, right? As a potential, right? It has declared China and India as unrealistic expansion opportunities, maybe because of already too high competition here, or maybe any of the reasons, right? But G says that they have written off China and India as unrealistic expansion opportunities. Now, when you read this G, okay, so let's consider it our first sentence here, okay? So this is going to be our first sentence. All right, now look at the sentence now. Now, perhaps after the sentence, we must need to know that why these companies wrote off China and India as unrealistic expansion opportunities. That means we need to find the reason, right? Or maybe it will elaborate about it more, right? So look at the other sentences, okay? Is there any sentence that still talks about this companies or these companies? Yes, look at this sentence B, right? Sentence B says, what sentence B says? Look at here. These companies feel that the capital base of these two countries isn't sufficient. See, I told you that perhaps after this sentence G, there must be a reason provided that why these companies out of China and India as unrealistic expansion opportunities. So in sentence B, we find the same reason, right? So what is the reason? Because these companies, now we get the answer that here these meant what? The some companies, okay, which we refer to here. So these companies felt that the capital base of these two countries, which two countries now again? Okay, China and India, right? Isn't sufficient for a credible entry, or that the competitive environment is already too tough for new entrants. So this is one of the reasons, right, why these companies out of China and India as unrealistic expansion opportunities. Okay, all right. Now let's see. Look at C. Okay, look at C. It says instead they should ascertain whether building. Who should do what? The companies should ascertain. Okay, instead. Then what was the first alternative that was provided to us? Look at sentence C. But companies shouldn't dismiss these market outright, right? So this is B. B is going to be your second sentence here. It is going to be your second sentence, right? And E is going to be your third sentence here. So this has to be your third sentence, right? But companies shouldn't dismiss these markets outright. Then what should they do instead? Instead, they should ascertain whether building a presence in only a few selected cities is feasible. So this has to be your fourth sentence, right? Okay. Now, what the sentence is saying, that rather than jumping to all the cities, right, making their presence and the whole country, what these companies can do, they can select few cities and make their presence there, right? That means open their companies, open their what we can say their factories or the industries, right? Only in few selected areas. So this might be feasible. Now remember in F we talked about some feasibility. So yes, F follows this. So now only once this feasibility, which feasibility? The ones we talked about here. It is feasible. What is feasible? Presence in only a few selected cities. Presence of the companies, right? So this is going to be your fifth sentence here, right? Okay. This feasibility is ensured, right? So what it says for specific product categories with low minimum scale requirements, even a limited entry in China or India can yield returns equivalent to country-wide coverage in other emerging economies or higher. So what it says that if these companies, even if these companies open or establish their, themselves in few selected areas, so the revenue that they're going to generate is going to be higher or equivalent to the emerging economies. That means their revenue is going to be higher or it is going to be equivalent to the revenue that a developing economy generate in itself, right? Okay, so perhaps now we need to have a example, right? So look at C1. The juice market, for instance, will grow more than 3 times as fast in Shanghai alone as in all of Malaysia. So look at C. So now this relates to what was said in the sentence F, right? So this is going to be your sixth sentence here. This is going to be a sixth sentence. All right, so the juice market, for instance, will grow more than 3 times as fast in Shanghai alone as in all of Malaysia, right? So it says that if these companies, right, establish themselves only in Shanghai, right? So the juice market, right, it's going to produce the proceeds, okay, the profit or the revenue 3 times as only Malaysia is going to produce on its own, right? And after that, left is A. So this is going to be your seventh um, statement after C. So the correct order would be G, B, E, D, F, C, A, right? So this is going to be your correct order. Okay, let's move to our next paragraph now. So here is the next paragraph. Look at it. Childhood anemia has worsened from NFHS 4, right? So yeah, it seems to open up a, what we can say, a topic. Might be childhood anemia, but let's see further. Can it be our first sentence? Yes, it can be, right? But we're not sure because we haven't gone through the rest of these sentences. Can B be our first sentence? No. There has been tardy progress in reducing undernutrition, wasting, and stunting. Why are we directly jumping to undernutrition, wasting, and stunting? Has there been a reference to these? Perhaps, malnutrition? No, right? So we cannot directly talk about a progress, a tardy progress, starting to describe the progress as tardy or slow. C can be our first sentence since it talks about a survey, right? Look at D1, it cannot be our first sentence. All these are majors. Again, it talks about all these are, but which are or what are? I don't know. Which concerns? Okay. Then E, anemia among adolescent girls and women aged 15 to 49 has also worsened. It says also worsened. That means it has been worsened among whom, right? Then F, this slow advancement. What slow advancement have been referred to previously? Okay, above here somewhere. So it cannot be our first sentence. Hence, our first sentence can be either C or A, right? But if you continue to watch this video, you will come to know that why C should be our first sentence. So look at C1. The National Family Health Survey NFHS 5 that was released recently shows negligible gains in nutritional outcomes among under 5 children. So this is going to be your first sentence, right? Since it talks about what? The malnutrition or undernutrition, right? Among under 5 children. Okay, so a survey revealed all this and the negligible gains. That means the process or the progress, okay, it has been almost zero. So what do you think B or second sentence should be? It has to be B, right? See, there has been tardy progress. Okay, here also we refer to a negligible gains in nutritional outcomes. So here we refer to the same thing as tardy progress in reducing undernutrition, wasting, and stunting, right? After this, look at F. This has to be our third sentence here, right? Look at this. This slow advancement. We are referring to the same progress. Here we are referring to as a tardy progress, and here we refer to as a slow advancement. Progress means advancement, and tardy means slow or inactive. So it means almost the same thing. But here we are provided with a data, right? That even now 35.5% of the under 5 children are stunned and 19.3% are wasted. So here we are provided with what? The statistics or figures. Here we just introduced the problems or the issues being suffered. Now, fourth one would be, now we come to anemia, which perhaps is a consequence of undernutrition. So this is going to be your fourth, right? So childhood anemia has worsened from NFHS 4, right? Now, following this will be your E. Anemia among adolescent girls and women aged 15 to 49 has also worsened, right? So previously, whom did we talk about? Childhood or children, right? Then we talk about adolescent girls and women. Okay, at last, D is going to be our last sentence here, right? Since it says all these are major concerns. So now we know that what concerns this passage or this paragraph is talking about. It talks about malnutrition, wasting, stunting, and anemia among children and adults and girls and women. Right? So this is our correct sequence here. So the correct sequence is C, B, F, A, D. Sorry, E and D. Right? Okay. Now we'll move to the next question. Okay, so this is the next question here. All right. So now we'll speed up since now you know what are basic tricks in order to find the first sentence. The innovative variation. It uses a definite article, the, right? And then we're talking about an innovative variation. So let's leave it as of now. Okay. Then C, it uses the word now. But now what? What did we previously talk about? Okay. D, these surges. Okay. These surges. Which surges? I don't know. Again, these suffered. Who suffered? Right? F, C. Earlier, this used to be controlled. What was used to be controlled or what used to be controlled? I don't know, right? Hence, these all cannot be our first sentence. So B is going to be our first sentence here. So what says B? Power grid need protection from certain surges in the current fault current that arise due to short circuit, sudden overdrawing of power or excess power generated due to falling demand. So it says what? That power grids need protection from certain surges. Certain surges. So this is the topic of our passage or the paragraph. Now, you remember sentence D? It talked about certain surges. So this has to be our second sentence since B talked about certain surges and D says these surges. So which surges? The surges which I introduced in sentence B. Okay. So these suffered from, these surges cause heating of the wires and perhaps melting in consequent short circuits and fire accidents. So in sentence D, we talk about the consequences of these surges, right? Now, what do you think? F, should F be our first, the third sentence? Yes, right? Earlier, this used to be controlled. What was control? What used to be controlled before? Okay, look at this. Fire accidents, right? Heating of the wires, melting, right? So these all problems used to be controlled by using circuit breakers which would cut off the current in the event of a surge. So using what? Circuit breakers. Circuit breakers. Now look at E. Look at E. These suffered from the limitation that if the response time to the current surge was too large, they would fail to be effective. So in sentence E, we describe about the limitation of circuit breakers, right? That controlled all these problems of short circuits, fire accidents, etc. Now this device or this solution had some limitation. What was the limitation? That if the response time to the current surge was too large, they would fail to be effective. So remember in A, we talked about an innovative variation, right? That means a new device might have been formed, right? So look at C1 now. Now this disadvantage has been addressed when researchers from Indian Institute of Technology Kanpur have come up with an innovation. So now to solve the issue or to get rid of this limitation or this device, the researchers, okay, they came up with a new device, an innovation, right? That could help protect the power grids against sudden unexpected current surges. And then finally, A talks about that innovative variation, that new innovation, right? So the correct sequence would be BDF, ECA, BDF and ECA. Okay, all right. Let's move to our next paragraph now. Okay, let's see A. A uses a direct speech and then later it says he says. I don't know who says, right? Okay, look at B. Since we now think it starts with C, right? And we don't know that why are we talking about all this context here. C can be a first sentence. D, it says in US too. So before where? In India, right? In India, it is required to label the ingredients. Why are we talking about ingredients, right? Then F says toxicologist Professor Alok Dhawan, director, okay, says that any chemical beyond a certain limit is toxic. Why are we talking about chemicals, right? Chemicals being toxic or ingredients. What is the the starting point of a paragraph? What does this paragraph want to convey? So we can see among the innumerable beauty blogs and tutorials, it is rare to find one that lays emphasis on the most important part of the process, the making of commercial beauty product and the way our body consumes it. So now we understand that what is the base of our paragraph, right? That are the cosmetics, right? Or the beauty products safe or not? What are the chemicals that go in these beauty products, and are these safe to go into our bodies or not? Then look at B. Since we now think of basin-based scrubs, so it talks about them as an example, right, of a basin-based scrub that's widely used. Okay, widely used by a lot of people. So basin-based scrubs as a weekend luxury, it is important to look into the kind of lab-made chemicals that go into most of these products and understand what we are letting into our bodies. So this has to be your second, right? Then let's see. E. In India, it is required to label the ingredients, but no mandatory testing is specified. So this has to be our third, right? And then it talks about again D. So that is this is fourth, right? And then look at F. So this has to be your fifth, and then at last is direct speech. So this is going to be your sixth. So your correct sequence would be C, B, E, D, F, A, right? In C, we introduce the introduction, right? I mean the topic of our paragraph. B gave an example of a basin-based scrub that's widely used. It again asks the question that what we are letting into our bodies, right? Then E says that in India, it is required to label the ingredients, but not mandatory testing is specified. So it's talking about the same sense, right? So I mean, we really don't know that what chemicals are we letting into our bodies. Then USA also suffers from the same situation. Okay, there the to test cosmetic products is not legal. And then at last, okay, we talk about his toxicologist Professor Alok Dhawan, what his say is about these chemicals, right? So this is our correct sequence here. So thank you so much, students. I hope you like the video. So we'll meet next time in a live session, right? So thank you and happy learning. Bye bye.